time for change. Change to everything and absolutely anything. But with that being said, the most obvious question could be is, how's this all to begin? And even though this is also to involve the explorative experience that has been described as the walk of life, this is, however, the continued feature of what has been described as green change. So it's obviously to acknowledge that a few notes have been made to explore this matter. So with that being said, just sit back, relax, and just listen up to what I have to say. So to begin all of this is to explore the descriptive difference between that of decriminalization and that of legalization. When within the descriptive state of decriminalization, it's acknowledging that criminal laws, as with criminal penalties, have been loosened, but it's also acknowledging that criminal laws, as with criminal penalties, still exist as well. So within regards to the Constitutional Court's declaration that came to decriminalize the usage, possession, as with the cultivation of cannabis within a private place, it's acknowledging again that a private place is not limited to an individual's residence, but it is also acknowledging that an individual is still able to be locked into chains for nature. So it's in this declaration as well that it's also acknowledging that if an individual isn't able to purchase cannabis seed or purchase cannabis to either grow the plant or use the plant, this declaration has also come to influence individuals to commit crimes, to again purchase the seed or purchase cannabis, to again grow the plant or use the plant. So it's again acknowledging that the decriminalization laws have also come to extort people as well. So if it were to explore the descriptive state of legalization, it would be acknowledging that there is no stipulations regarding the growth, the usage, the possession, and even that of the trade of cannabis. So in this, it would also be acknowledging that there are also no stipulations as to how much an individual is able to grow or have at the same time. So in this legalization stipulation, it would also be acknowledging that there is no laws against age limit, recognizing that children are then also able to grow and learn about cannabis. Now, I personally don't believe that children should use cannabis, but I personally believe that children should be learning about the plant, especially when this plant is able to consume 4 times the amount of carbon dioxide in 9 months than what a pine tree is able to achieve in 25 years. Now, with global warming sitting right on our doorstep, it would be acknowledging that this plant is also able to help us prevent this catastrophic, disastrous impact upon us as one state of a global nation, recognizing that this one state of a global nation is plants, insects, animals, individuals, and again that of the earth. So it would be acknowledging that, in the words of Jack Heron, I don't know if this plant can save this world, but I know that this plant is the only thing that can. Okay, so my journey started in 1999, and approaching 2019, how much has things come to change? Well, it could be described as coming from humble beginnings, entering into what could be described as a capitalistic fiasco. Now, as a brief idea as to how much things have come to change since the date of 1999, it would be acknowledging that just within regards to that of the Swazi cannabis strain, bags were once being bought and sold for 50 Rand. Parcels were once being bought and sold between 300 to 400 Rand. And within that, you would be getting about 7 to 8 bags. Kilograms were once being bought and sold between 1,500 to 2,000 Rand. But it would also be acknowledging that the highest strains of cannabis within this country at that time were all coming from foreign African countries, recognizing that it was coming from Malawi, Congo, Nigeria, Mozambique, Swaziland, and even from this country, when it's to acknowledge that Durban poison has also originated from that of Durban. So, in this being said, these strains were all being bought and sold between 15 Rand to 30 Rand, and the whole idea of somebody selling a gram between 100 Rand to 200 Rand could have been reflected as possibly the greatest joke on this planet at that time. So within regards to foreign cannabis strains, it would be acknowledging that the 1% were enjoying these foreign cannabis strains, whereby it was the growers and the specifics, whereby the specifics were the friends of the growers. So if you weren't friends with a grower that was growing foreign cannabis, you were never going to enjoy the pleasures of these foreign cannabis strains. So within regards to the medicinal values of this plant, again, it would be acknowledging that there were no cannabis oils around, and that the medicinal values of this plant were totally left up to it being smoked, eaten, or being drunk as a tea. So in this being said, it would also be acknowledging that these cannabis edibles were also on the menus of stoners' fun and games, recognizing that we used to make these brownies, and make these biscuits, and make these muffins, and make these cakes, all for the mere fun and game of it, and the whole idea of it ever being sold never ever came to any one of our minds. So in this being said, within regards to all these fancy dancy bongs that are being going around, I mean, back in those days, it was all being left up to natural materials or recycled materials, whereby Coke bottles were being used and where coconut bongs were being used. But also, again, there were apples, carrots, potatoes, soapstone chillums. I mean, the whole mere aspect of all these fancy dancy bongs, I mean, was not around at all. And the whole idea when it came in to be seen was like, wow, like really, it was like, wow. So it's also acknowledging that back then there was more trust, and also back then there seemed to be a hell of a lot more care than what there is within this date. Okay, so approaching 2019, it's undoubtedly that this plant has been put onto a capitalistic market for sure, when it's to acknowledge the following as a brief idea. Within regards to the Swazi cannabis strain, 20-gram bags are now being bought and sold between 100 to 140 Rand. Kilograms are now being bought and sold between 3 to 5,000 Rand. The highest strains of cannabis within this country at this current time are all these foreign cannabis strains, again setting you back between 50 Rand to 200 Rand per gram, depending if it's being grown outdoors or indoors. Now this in general would set you back between 50,000 Rand to 100,000 Rand per kilo. So again, there's also all these fancy dancy bongs gonna set you back a few hundred. Cannabis oils, few millimeters, gonna set you back a few hundred. Cannabis edibles, gonna set you back a few hundred. Again, seems to be a lot less trust going around and a lot less care going around. People have turned nasty and cruel due to business, and again, it seems to have turned out to be all about the money. Okay, so as a brief idea as to how much this cannabis industry is actually valued at. Now, of course, this is an estimated value due to the main factors that we do not actually know how many individuals are actually smoking cannabis on a daily basis or using another cannabis product. But working off the easy number of 20,000 individuals smoking 2 grams of Swazi strain cannabis at 7 Rand a gram, this is 14 Rand a day. So 20,000 individuals smoking 2 grams a day, this is 40 kilos. Per week, this is 280 kilos. Per month, this is 1,120 kilos. Now, looking at the cash value, this is 280,000 Rand per day. This is 1,960,000 Rand per week, and again 7,840,000 Rand per month. Now, working with the same scenario of 10,000 individuals smoking 1 gram of a foreign strain cannabis plant per day at 80 Rand a gram, this would be, the cash value would be 80,000 Rand per day. Per week, it would be 560,000 Rand. Per month, it would be 2,240,000 Rand. Now, combining both cash values of the 20,000 and the 10,000. Now, of course, this is 30,000 individuals. So per day, this is 360,000 Rand. Per week, it is 2,520,000 Rand. Per month, it is 1,080,000 Rand. So then, looking at a yearly idea as to how much money is actually being spent on cannabis within regards to just Swazi alone, it is 9,480,000 Rand within regards to just the cannabis foreign strain at selling at 80 Rand per gram. This is 6,880,000 Rand. Now, to combine both cash values per year, this is 12,960,000 Rand. Okay, so let's just imagine that the cannabis trade has now been decriminalized and that the 7 Rand and the 80 Rand per gram is now being hammered with a 15% VAT. So just working with the Swazi cannabis strain, 280,000 Rand per day minus 15% VAT is 42,000 Rand per day. 1,960,000 Rand per week minus 15% VAT is 294,000 Rand per week. 7,840,000 Rand per month minus 15% VAT is 1,176,000 Rand per month. So, to explore just the foreign cannabis strain at selling at 80 Rand per gram, this is 80,000 Rand per day minus 15% VAT is 12,000 Rand per day. 560,000 Rand per week minus 15% VAT is 84,000 Rand per week, and 2,240,000 Rand per month minus 15% VAT is 336,000 Rand per month. So then if we were to combine both figures, all going to the taxpayer because of VAT. Now, this would be 54,000 Rand per day, 378,000 Rand per week, and 1,512,000 Rand per month. So, to explore a yearly idea of all of this, it would be 1,008,144,000 Rand that would be all going to the taxpayer on a yearly basis. But honestly, can we trust any government when currently there is a 72.6 billion Rand bill against their heads? Okay, so with the idea of capitalism being mentioned, it's to equally understand that governments, corporations, organizations, institutions, and industries are all a part of a capitalistic system due to being a part of a financial economic system. So what is capitalism? Capitalism could easily be described as when production is used for profit, which is to be within private hands. Recognizing that the system of capitalism is when money is used to create a product, but when that product is then used to create more money. Recognizing that this is when money is used to create a grow up, for instance, but when that product within that grow up is then used to create more money. Recognizing that the main goal of capitalism is to always create more money, and that there is no emotional goal. Recognizing that there are no emotional responsibilities, and within that there is no moral, ethical values within the system of capitalism, which is easily to be recognized when employees are simply just disregarded due to a company not making enough money. So it's to equally understand that the emotional ideas of peace, love, happiness, truth, possibilities, creativity, and that of freedom does not exist within the system of capitalism as well. Recognizing that it is due to the system of capitalism that has caused conflicts, wars, poverty, but it has also come to cause extinction upon this earth as well. Recognizing that capitalism is also one of the main reasons for deforestation. Okay, so in mentioning the capitalistic system, it's to equally understand that there are three sectors to capitalism, recognizing that the first is imperialistic capitalism, the second being free market capitalism, and the third is what could be described as vampire capitalism. Now, imperialistic capitalism is easily to be noticed that when there is a single grower in the area, the only grower in the area that comes to grow a crop, but within this also comes to set such a high price that for this crop for everybody else to bow down to, recognizing that the grower has now become a master to the markets. So when it's to explore the free market capitalism, this is easily to be noticed that when White Widow is being sold between 50 Rand to 200 Rand a gram, but again all depending on how it's grown, whether it's being grown outdoors or indoors, but in this it is initially opening a free market for everybody to capitalize off. So when it's to explore what is able to be described as vampire capitalism, this is easily to be noticed that when a single broker comes to buy everything in the area, recognizing that whether it's being bought from a grower or from another distributor, it is again everything in the area, but in this also coming to set their own prices for everybody else to abide by. But in this, it would also be acknowledging that within vampire capitalism, it is also putting a lot of people out of business as well. So with this being stated, it is humbly apologizing for doing this to so many people for so many years. Okay, so let's just imagine that the trade of cannabis has been decriminalized, but that the only stipulation is that an adult is allowed to trade it. So from the numbers of 20,000 individuals, again, within those numbers of 20,000 there are 5,000 individuals growing and supplying the rest of the 15. But now due to this economic crisis that is being currently faced, is acknowledging that this would of course come to create employment. So in this being stated, another 5,000 people then come to grow, also again trying to now supply 10,000 people. So now you got 5,000 people trying to supply 10,000, and you got another 5,000 trying to supply 10,000. Now in basic logical context, if one person was growing 5 plants, right, to supply, let's say, 5 people, but within those 5 people, another person comes to decide to grow another 5 plants to now supply 4 people. So now you've got the one grower, the initial grower, growing 5 plants to supply 4 people, and now you've got another growing 5 plants to supply 4 people. What do you notice? That there are too many plants. So in this, it would be noticing that there would be a decrease in price, and again within this, it would also be noticing that there would also be a reduction in trade, recognizing that this is only to create a financial recession. Okay, so let's replay that scenario, but this time with the decriminalization laws of the trade in cannabis being set forth just as those criminal laws or stipulations set forth with that of alcohol. Now, I would be acknowledging that within these criminal laws or stipulations that the trade of cannabis will always be controlled by the 1%, and that even though this may come to create job opportunities, that the employee will always be servant to the 1%, and that the 1% will always be master to the employee. So if the cannabis dispensary isn't earning enough profit, it's easily to equally realize that the employee is to be let go of, thus creating unemployment. However, it would also be acknowledging that with more and more cannabis dispensaries also opening up, it would also be increasing the production and decreasing the price. But again, an influx of cannabis in dispensaries could only lead to a recession as well. Okay, so then to explore the idea of legalization. Now within the idea of legalization, of course there are no stipulations stating as to who can grow, where they can grow, how much they can grow, where they can trade, how much they can trade, as to how much they can have. Recognizing that with 9.5 million individuals currently being unemployed within this country, it's easily to acknowledge that the idea of legalization is able to create massive employment opportunity. Or is it? When it's to also acknowledge that with more and more individuals being able to grow this plant wherever they want and trade this plant wherever they want, this is only to increase production and decrease the price, recognizing that this obviously is to also influence a low state of trade, obviously, which is also to influence a financial depressive state. Again, this is the financial depressive state that is only to influence unemployment as well. So with this being stated, with the latest trend being all these foreign cannabis strain plants, is also to acknowledge that within the idea of legalization, that there will be a massive increase in cross-pollinating as well, recognizing that although some growers may be frustrated that it may come to decrease their foreign cannabis strain, but within this it would also be improving all the other African strain cannabis plants within this country as well. Okay, so in the words of Jimi Hendrix, when the power of love overcomes the love for power, that's when the world will exist in peace. So how is it to overcome this capitalistic system? Well, it's fairly simple. It's called the free trade market. This is basically when a plant is grown, then sold, and then where that money is then used for a basic requirement, recognizing that through purchasing that basic requirement, you are also supporting somebody else, recognizing that there is an emotional goal as with an emotional ending to it all. From the plant being grown and from the money being used, there is again an emotional goal and an emotional ending to it all, recognizing that within this there is also an emotional responsibility as with moral ethical values as well. But if it were to just reflect on our daily lifestyles and the amount of luxuries that we have come to surround ourselves with, it's easily to acknowledge that these luxuries aren't truly necessary within this life for us to be happy. So if we were to just base ourselves on our basic requirements, it would also be acknowledging that we, of course, would also be saving money as well. But within this saving of money, it is also acknowledging that this money is then also able to be used for purchasing a car as well, for instance. So it's also acknowledging that through purchasing a car, it is also again supporting somebody else. Again, there's an emotional goal and an emotional ending within the free market. Okay, so in mentioning the walk of life, again, this is to be a 420-kilometer journey, which is to be entirely walked. However, it is also able to be described as a spiritual journey of discovery, practice, and creation. And yet, it is also a notion that is intended to emotionally inspire other emotional beings, that they too can also emotionally overcome any struggling times, as with emotionally achieve the known sensational state of an emotional, meaningful happiness within this emotional, physically descriptive state of existence. Now, of course, there has been the request for donations towards the sensational notion, of course, but it would also be acknowledging that a donation is a gift to fund, recognizing that it is a voluntary action for the compassionate heart. So when a depressive state of reality has either tried to inflict a state of sadness or suffering upon this emotional, explorative experience that is only intended for the betterment of life, or towards the sensational request for a donation, it's easy to acknowledge that this is the 1% that has also inflicted a state of depression through their own ignorance and arrogance upon an emotional life as well. So with that being stated, may the lovers keep on loving and the haters keep on hating. And if we were to donate, email and the banking details will be sent to you. Namaste.